I forgot how much I miss that music. Welcome to the Creator Toolbox. This is the show for ServiceNow developers and admins and builders to learn more about what they can put in their toolbox. We're showing you tools and tips and tricks and all kinds of best practices that you can take to be a more effective ServiceNow developer. Let's go around and do some quick introductions now that we know why we're here. Let's start to my left. That'd be Brad.
Hey everybody, my name is Brad Tilton. I'm a senior developer advocate with a developer program here at ServiceNow. I have been developing on the platform for a while now, and I'm looking forward to kind of kicking off our San Diego season today.
We'll continue around clockwise. Earl.
Hi everyone, my name is Earl Duque. I am a developer advocate here at ServiceNow, and I've been on the platform for about 4 years, mostly with higher education before that, but also happy to be back. Welcome back to San Diego.
And our newest member of the family, Ashley.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Snyder. I am an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow, mainly on the platform UX team. So everything dealing with Next Experience and UI Builder and all the really great fun stuff that we're talking about today. I have been working on the platform for about 6 years now, mainly like Earl, higher education, healthcare, and doing some partner work as well. And I'm really excited to be here.
And my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow as a customer 2008 to 2010, then came to the mothership, much like many of these other wonderful people on the screen. So not an original story, but a good one nonetheless. So thank you for joining us. Also want to remind everybody of something we have on the screen just above Brad's left shoulder. It says San Diego. We are going to be using this throughout our San Diego season. So Creator Toolbox, Live Coding Happy Hour, you can easily you get that visual and say, this is San Diego content, because in 6 months, we're going to be putting out Tokyo content, and then we'll go on from there. So you get the idea. We wanted to add that just as a little tag so you can quickly see what's what and where am I, because 5 years from now, it could get a little messy. And if you want all of the San Diego content for this season, we're going to be doing this February, March, into April for all of these productions. devlink.sn/San Diego is our master table of contents. You can see when things will happen, what topics, bookmark things, put them on your calendar so that you can be there ready to go and say, I really want to know more about RPA Hub. When is that? Oh, it's not till later in March. Great, let's block off some time for that. So a lot of good stuff. We've got a plan. I think this is our best laid plan for the releases yet. It just keeps getting better. And we have also a comment, bow tie on live. Yes, new colors for the new brand. Thank you very much. So without any further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Brad, and Ashley's going to assist with our topic of the day. Please do tell us what we're covering.
I think we'll just turn it over to Ashley and let her get into
nice
it.
delegation.
I don't have anything for this. So yeah, Ashley has graciously agreed to give us some demo on the new UI and the unified navigation. So I'm excited to kind of see what she's got to show us, and then she's going to be around for the next couple of weeks as we talk about Next Experience and UI Builder and all those things. So Ashley, take it away.
All right, sounds good. Can everyone see my screen?
There it is. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and get started. So we are talking about the Next Experience UI today. So that really beautiful UI that you guys have all been seeing on LinkedIn, TechNow, different community posts. We've seen screenshots here and there about it. And now we're going to kind of take a tour over with the UI today, looking at the different pieces and the different features that we have. Before I get started, though, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping before doing the demo, just to kind of explain some terms and explain really who we built this UI for. So Brad, as you mentioned, we are looking at the next experience, which was previously called now experience. So those terms are really interchangeable. If you see now experience somewhere and if you see next experience somewhere, those are both one and the same thing. It's just our renaming of it. The next experience UI is really what we're referring to here with this new kind of homepage, landing page, header experience. And then I'm also going to be mentioning the word core UI. And that really is just like a replacement for platform UI, UI 16, classic UI. Whenever you hear those terms and you hear core UI, just think about those as one and the same. So I kind of wanted to just explain that because you'll see it in the product documentation and some other content that we have coming out. As far as who this was built for, this was really built for anyone that kind of worked in the core platform UI in the back end, really those fulfillers or folks who were doing service delivery, to really give them an easier experience when they're working in the core UI, if they're working in workspaces, just to make it easier for them and to kind of improve working in two different areas. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit more in the demo. It's not meant for end users who need to use like the service portal to request things or folks that are using CSM. We still have the service portal and the employee center that's built on the service portal technology for that. So I did want to make that differentiation because I know we do have questions coming out about what's happening to the portal and what do we need to start thinking about with that. So I wanted to go ahead and just kind of clarify that for everyone.
Ashley, I'm going to start with an obvious question. The information you've got here on the screen, where do we find more information on how to configure that? Not just what's on this page, but perhaps a different page for different personas.
Yeah, for sure. So one place to check right now is that we have the EA product docs out. If you go and look through the product docs, we have a whole link and section on the next experience user interface. And we have various docs about how to set up not only the next experience UI itself, but what we're looking at here is a landing page, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit more. And you can really configure and customize what users can see with this landing page, and that will be in the product docs as well. But I will go ahead and plug something that I'm working on, which is our Next Experience Center of Excellence, which is on the community site. We have it out now, and we're going to be working on revamping it for the San Diego release and adding a bunch of Next Experience content on there. So keep an eye out for that around the GA release of San Diego.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with the tour. So the first thing that you're going to notice if you have this experience on is a brand new login page, which I think looks a lot better than the old one. One thing I really like about it is that you can have this little parallax feature. It kind of follows your cursor with you. I just thought that was a really neat.
I never even noticed that. That's awesome.
There are properties to configure this picture showing. You can change the colors on this, and we'll have all that in the COE. But if you're not using SSO, or if you do use this login page, you will notice that when this feature is turned on.
I know that previously in Paris we came out with SSO for Google, AWS, Apple, and now in San Diego we've got Facebook. Will that badge also show up on this new login page?
Chuck will have to look into that. I'm not sure yet, but we can definitely take a look into that and put it in our COE content. Cool. So I did want to mention, as far as who's going to see this, right? If you're a brand new customer launching on San Diego, this experience is going to be enabled for you by default. If you're an existing customer upgrading from a previous release, this experience will not be turned on when you upgrade. We do have a system property to do that, and I'll go ahead and just pull it up here. This glide.ui.polaris.experience, basically all you have to do is set that to true, and it will turn this on for you. we do have some product documentation out there about, different customer, customization levels, migration strategies for this. If you've not done a lot of customization, like hard coding things into the interface, DOM manipulation, it may just be as easy as, checking that, doing your testing validation and turning this on. For customers that are using like UI scripts and some more heavy customization, we have some guidance in there as well. So definitely before turning this on in like a customer instance, check out our product docs on this. You can turn it on in a PDI, you can turn it on in a sandbox environment, but we do have that guidance out there, and I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that it's on the product docs and to take a look at that before turning this on.
Ray's given us confirmation that the SSO login does show on the login page. So
Cool.
Thank you very much. Also, I want to point out, Ashley, that there is a user preference also. So if you have certain individuals that do not want to use this, check the, I don't know, just search for Polaris. It's in there somewhere. It's like something Polaris.use. And there is, in traditional user preference fashion, there's one that says system checkbox is checked. So system is true and the user field is blank. If you wanted to override that with your own, say the system property is true, the system preference is true, you could create your own unchecked system, put your name in the field, and set the value to false, and you're back to UI 16 when everybody else in the world is using this. And you could invert that as well. So maybe you want to onboard people in groups. You set the system property to true, set the system preference to false, and then you can create individual user preferences to true as you go. So think about creative ways to do that if you're looking at doing this slowly or a beta group or something of that nature.
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, for sure. We're not saying everyone has to just turn it on and here it is, and you have to change everything right away. This was built to be more backwards compatible with our existing customers. We understand that different customers are going to need to roll this out different ways. And what you mentioned is all in the product docs as well, as far as those user preferences and the system preferences.
The other common question that I got on last week's Tech Now was, can users revert or go forward at any time? The answer is end users cannot, because we don't present that user preference in the preferences modal, in the settings that you pop up with your little gear icon or under your avatar menu. So they would require assistance from you to turn it on or off, or they really need to be savvy and know sys under user under preference.list. But we're not going to get into that with every end user. So treat this more as, hey, this is where we're going, and everybody aim for the future. But certainly do your testing and update your documentation before you turn this on production. Yeah,
definitely. I say PDIs are pretty fair game. I know I booted up one just to see this earlier. But yeah, so, we created this for, like I said, the service delivery users, the fulfillers, folks that really still need access to, the core UI, the platform UI. But also, we're coming out with different configurable workspaces. So we have a few already that are out of the box. So, the asset workspace and the CSM workspace and the CMDB workspace. And we are going to be launching some more, with future family releases and store releases. And really, what this does is really help tie those two experiences together. Previously, like Quebec and Rome, if I'm working in a workspace, but I need to get to something in the platform, I had like multiple tabs up, and it was kind of that disjointed experience. So really what this is doing is tying it all together in one area for both of those users. So I'll go ahead and just start with the tour, and we'll kind of work in different parts here. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is kind of this header up here. We call it unified navigation. And then the second part I'll be talking about is this main page, which is the landing page. So as far as unified navigation, just starting from left to right, first thing you're going to notice is the logo here. That follows the same kind of rules as UI 16. It is set in the theme, but if you need to put a link on it, it's the same kind of system property that we had for UI 16, this glide.banner.image.url. I just set it here to my landing page. You can set it to what you need to. But that's just there. I did want to go ahead and mention, I think I kind of skipped over this because we were kind of getting into some user preferences. But as far as what existing customers will see here with the landing page, so if you're turning on, let's say that you're a new customer and you are going live on San Diego and you have this loaded by default, you're going to get the default landing page here. But if you're an existing customer, you're going to notice that either your dashboards or your homepage is going to be here. And we've kind of done that on purpose. It's just to allow existing customers to use the dashboards and home pages that they've been using, but also so they can go ahead and start using this new interface. You may have users that are just not, used to a landing page, or you need to build those landing pages out. And by allowing those dashboards to load within the landing page area, it just gives administrators time to create those landing pages. It gives users time to get used to it. And we also just provide that backwards compatibility for customers and users that still need to use those existing dashboards and home pages. So it's kind of, I wanted to just make that clear before we get too deep into the demo.
So Ashley, I may have missed this, but did you say that like admins will be able to set what the default homepage is for this, if they want it to be this page or if they want it to be one of the other homepages?
Yeah, definitely. So we have another system property for that. Is the glide.login.home. So mine is on the default Polaris landing page here. If you're an existing customer and you're upgrading, you might notice it's on like PA dashboards.do or another page, kind of like whatever your previous home page was. And with that, let's say that you do create new landing pages and don't use the default landing page, you would set it in that system property as well.
Nice.
So the next thing I'll talk about are the navigation menus. So existing customers, remember in UI 16, we had that, application navigator on the sidebar. You could collapse it to kind of free up some screen real estate, but it was kind of always there, pinned to the side. And in that application navigator, we had all favorites and history all within that one sidebar, and you could tab back and forth between them. With unified navigation, we've split those out and put them in the header area itself, which really does free up some screen real estate. If you just didn't need it on the side there. You could pin one of these menus to the side if you're used to working like that and you want to have this on the side and have that experience and still kind of get to the other menus as well while you have one pinned. As far as the all menu right here, you're going to see the same applications and modules that you're used to seeing in UI 16. And configuring those are the same way. If you go into the product docs and you look up how to configure your application menus and your modules, the same way that you configure it previously in UI 16 is going to be the same way you configure it here using the new UI. The favorites menu got some enhancements as well. So you can filter on your favorites independently of filtering on your applications. You can go in here and edit your favorites all in one pane, and we have some updated colors and icons to match the theme. One thing I really like is now I can kind of drag and drop my favorites in this kind of pane rather than doing it from the menu itself. And then once you're done, you can just save your edits off.
Are we going to get groups?
I'll have to look into that. I don't think for San Diego we have groups, but I'll look and see if we have anything.
The table's there. If you know how to hack it, it's sysui bookmark group. The other thing I want to point out on the all menu, Ashley, is that our good old friends tablename.list, tablename.do, tablename.config, all of that still works as you would expect. So
yes. So the other menu here, history, which I really like, I think this is probably the menu I use the most, at least as a developer in my past life, has gotten some love as well. So we do have this filtering option, which wasn't present before. So you can actually search within your history. And then also, as far as like the date and times, previously, you would see things like 5 days ago, 8 days ago, and you don't know really when that was. we've kind of given you better indicators of when that was. So like yesterday, February 4th, just to make it a lot easier to navigate and search through your history. And then workspace is up here. So if you are a user that has access to a workspace, you will see this workspace icon or menu. If you don't have access to a workspace, you won't see it. But this just makes it easier to get to the workspaces that you have access to without having to go all the way over here to all and hunt for it. If you click a workspace, it actually loads within the Next Experience UI. So a new tab doesn't pop up. You don't have to go anywhere else. Your workspace is right here for you. You can work within your workspace. If you need to go back to somewhere else, and you don't need to be in your workspace for some reason, you can just go to one of your menus or your favorites and get there really quickly and jump back and forth between the workspace and core UI experience.
Something I discovered about the workspaces menu also is if you don't have access to any workspaces, there's no menu. If you have access to just one workspace, that one workspace goes on the menu bar. It doesn't say workspaces with one drop down. It's like you just click whatever's up there. So if all I have is agent workspace, that's what's going to show up next to history. It'll say agent workspace. It's when you get into multiple access, you have availability and access to multiple workspaces, you will see workspaces on the menu. So I logged into one of the instances going, where's my workspaces menu? And what's this agent workspace doing up here all by itself?
Chuck, you've been probably digging around a little bit deeper than I have. Thank you for finding it. I did not actually know.
That's because I had to answer 250 questions yesterday from Tech Now. Yeah, there was a lot of R&D going on my side.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and move over to what this is. So a lot of people call it a pill. It's officially named the contextual app pill or contextual menu, and it really just tells you where you're at in your experience at any given time. So let's say that you're on a list of incidents. It tells you. One neat thing I've found is that if you go into the UI 16 properties, and I think you configure it, it's called the banner tab or banner name, something like that. It'll show up here. So like, let's say you want to name this instance like San Diego test or something. Whenever you want to, it'll actually show up here for you. That's something that I found out. I know I was talking to you about that, Chuck. Just to kind of make it easier to tell what instance you're in, aside from the theming of the instance.
I think it's browser something glide.ui.browser title or something of that, along that line.
Yeah, so I would say definitely, if that's not set in your UI 16 preferences and you want to take a look at it, you can play around with that.
Funny how we're using UI 16 preferences to configure the Next Experience.
It was interesting how they're like kind of tying together. I'm still kind of working through them and figuring out myself. I'm like, what points to where? It's really neat kind of how can we kind of build off, one another and kind of, try to make it to where if you set something in UI 16, it does still show in Next Experience UI as well.
This is handy though. I like that contextual pill in the dead center. Tells you if it's a favorite, if it's not, you can make it a favorite. I mean, it's almost like a Spotify playlist, like click the star, boom, you've got a favorite. No matter where you are or what filter is on, that thing is going to be in your favorites instantly. A lot easier than, was it the form menu? Was it the list menu? Was it the list header menu? Where do you make a favorite? I can't remember. It's like, bam, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like you said, just click the star, it adds a favorite for you. You don't have to go in here to do it. You don't have to go up here to do it. So it makes it super easy. Moving over here to the right. So we do have our search bar here. And this is really interesting as well. So you see I'm in global search. But if I have access to a workspace and search has been configured for that workspace, I can search within that workspace. So if you're using workspaces previously, workspaces kind of had their own header and there was a search in that header. And now it's just been moved up to the unified navigation to put it all in one place. So you're not going to see like another header here with a search. It's just all here for you.
Wow, I seriously undersold that in my demo Thursday. Thank you.
And did I see that that you can configure that to use the regular global search or the AI search too, or was that like a workspace specific setting?
So I think AI search is coming, but yeah, this one's just like out of the box. It's just using the regular global search, which I think we have a system preference for as well. Right now, as far as AI search, I don't think that's available yet, but I can circle back on that. So looking at these icons right here, I call them utilities. These are really going to, we have some role specific ones. So I'm an admin and I see this little globe here. I think we have a lot of admins probably watching this show that are have questions about where is my update set picker, or is my app picker, my domain picker.
That was the single biggest question/request, is to have a way to optionally put those back on the top bar.
Okay. All right. I'll let the team know. I think I heard on Tech Now, maybe the ability to pin would be nice as well.
Yep.
Okay. I'll let the team know. We might have some, an enhancement log for that already, but that is definitely something I can take to the team. But right now, as of San Diego, we do have it in this icon. We do have it in a drop down. What's really nice is you can actually start filtering through application scopes and update sets now.
I'm so happy.
Thank you.
If I type in like CSM, I see everything with that. I can just click on my scope.
As soon as we came out with scopes in Fuji, I said, oh, here's a problem waiting to happen. And think about it. Fuji was what, 2014, Brad? So we've been waiting 8 years to get that filter.
Scroll.
Yep. Especially if you have a ton of update sets. Wow. So like I've changed my scope here, and now I have a visual indicator showing me that I'm no longer in the global scope.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. Let's say I wanted to go to a different update set here and go back over. Now I have another visual indicator telling me I'm no longer in the default update set of that scope. So it just makes it kind of a little easier to get around and kind of know where you're at. If you're still working in global scoped and scoped applications at the same time. The next thing, we have our help here, which can be pinned over to the right. Notifications. If you're using like CTI soft phone plugin, you'll see the phone up there. So there's just been kind of, the same place as UI 16, just some slight differences here. And then we have our user preferences right here, all underneath the user icon. So I know we had the gear before, and you click on the preferences there. That's underneath your user settings. We have them right here. I'll go ahead and click on them. So we have this nice modal window that pops up. We did add some new preferences in San Diego. Check the product docs for those, I think around display and accessibility. I know everyone's really interested in this theme preference. So before I even look at that, I do want to mention, because we do get a lot of questions on that. In order to see that theme preference, you have to turn this system property on, glide.ui.player.themes enabled. Just set it to true in order to see that preference category.
Why isn't that on by default?
I do not know. I don't know.
That's
a good question. I figured it would be. Who knows? I can find out. But clicking on that, so I have my default theme, which is shipped out of the box. Now I have this nice dark mode theme. And let me go back here. So dark mode, I know there's been a lot of questions about that. Right now it applies to landing pages, which I'll discuss in a moment. It applies to configurable workspaces that have been, worked on in UI Builder, the new version from Quebec. It does not apply to core UI elements such as forms, lists, and dashboards as of the San Diego release. So if you're, clicking around and you're wondering why some things are still white, that's just, as far as San Diego, kind of where it applies to.
One day.
And then I know we've had questions about themes and stuff, and we'll definitely have documentation in our COE about how to theme, how to create variants, how to brand. I know I have a lot of customers asking about that, but I did create one and kind of want to show it off in this demo, just to show everyone that you can put different colors on this.
Ooh.
You can get your menus to show it, your landing page to show it. So that is a possibility. Definitely
Get a designer involved, please. Actually, if you hop back to like that incident list, I think there's some interesting stuff to show on the core UI elements as well.
Yes. So yeah, you see this incident list. We've changed some things around. First off, let's go ahead and just look at the header. We've moved the filtering and like views and stuff up to the header itself. It used to kind of be down here in the subheader. We have moved over actions on selected rows from the bottom of the list. If you had a long list, it's up here at the top. So you don't have to scroll to find it. It's always there for you, which I think is really nice. If you are creating new records or updating records, if you have those options on your list, they're over here on the top right as well. And then you'll also notice personalized list columns has been moved over to the top right. So kind of think anything that you need to do with a list or rows, any kind of actions you need to take are going to be up here on the top right. And then like filtering and views and stuff are going to be over here on the top left.
The other thing to point out right away is it's full width. It's the wide screen, so a lot less open in new browser tab.
Yes.
And then you go back to a record and it's on a wrong page because it's session based and gets really messy. So we should be able to clean up a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I did want to mention there is a property. I think I turned it on. Display always show top navigation. So when you used to open something in a new tab, it didn't show like the UI 16 elements. It just kind of showed. Let me see if I can actually.
Yeah, anybody that middle clicks or does. Yeah.
So it just kind of showed that list. It should, if I have that on right, if I understand it right. Through the power of live demo, it's not working, but it should pop up the unified navigation header here. Maybe I have that property on wrong, but I did want to mention that. And then, so on list, the last thing I do want to mention is the fixed footer. So if you've been working in ServiceNow for a while and you have, lists that are more than 20 records long, you had to always scroll to the bottom to get to this pagination. It is always here for you at the bottom. You no longer have to scroll through all those records to find it.
Hooray!
And then
a couple of cosmetic things as well. Links are blue, which is sort of a tradition going back to, about 1991 on web pages. I had somebody ask, well, what about an invalid choice on a choice list? That's also blue. It's actually a different shade of blue. And whereas a reference list like number or caller, you will see those all the way down the list, as opposed to an invalid category, which will just be a one-off on a row. The styling around like the priority, where it says priority 1 critical. In the early days, Brad will remember this, he used to fill up the whole cell, like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then about UI 14, I think we went to dots. But there is a preference on the personalized list preferences that you could say revert or undo modern style, whatever it was, that would make it go back to full cell. Instead of a dot, which I found a little hard to visualize at certain times, it's gone to this kind of around the text, or you can still fill in the entire cell if you change that list preference. So a lot of nice things. Somebody did ask, do we have resizable columns yet? And I said, not in this core UI format today.
You do in workspaces.
Yes, we do in workspaces. And people will say, what happened to my column menus? You have to hover over them to see the little traffic light icon. It's no longer the hamburger on all of them all the time. But everything there is still in the same familiar format. If you want to go configure list or export to XML, it's going to be in the same places you've always looked.
Yeah. And with the highlighting too, if you're used to working in workspaces, this is the kind of the style of workspaces. So we have one style in workspaces, we have one style in core UI. So now we're kind of just tying them both together. So if you're used to seeing one thing in a workspace, now you can see it in the core UI as well. And then also admins, troubleshooters, developers, The little response time thing is always down here for you. So if you have a really wide list and a really long list, you don't have to go hunting for it. It's just always right there for you.
I know I'm in trouble when I need to look at that. If you drill into one of the forms too, click open one of the incidents.
Yeah, I have this problem here because I wanted to show the process flow formatter.
I haven't seen that yet. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not this green color because I have this theme. I believe it's always green, and that's probably something that can be set.
I was like, wow, it matches the theme. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. So we got a visual update as well, which I really like. Another thing, and Chuck, you may have been playing around with this a little bit more than me, is I noticed that the sections are kind of more visually defined, and you kind of know where you're at.
Yes.
In your record, which I really like.
There's also visuals on the lists when there's no records. It doesn't say nothing. You get that little icon that says, "Hey, there's nothing here."
Yeah.
No records to display.
And I think I saw that you were kind of talking in some community spaces about some other empty states too. Like if you didn't have access to something, you get a nice picture now telling you that you don't have access to that with security constraints.
Yeah, we had a misconception yesterday because we went to the incident list as Able Tutor and said, "Show me all the incidents." And normally you'd see that some records are just hidden because of security constraints. And I thought, yay, this has finally been fixed. And unfortunately, it wasn't. It's just that there's now a display business rule, a query business rule that got injected. It's not all over the system. I went, oh darn! So I was happy for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think as far as forms, and Chuck, you may have done a little bit more digging on this, but these are really the only kind of visual styling. Otherwise, all your form rules still apply, if you're creating business rules and UI policies. DOM manipulation, we haven't supported that for a while. So if you do have some things that are using DOM manipulation, you might have to reconfigure that when you turn this experience on.
One more thing I like to point out on the forms is good practice is to have a hint on your field labels. So if you hover over, say, I don't know, configuration item, hover over one of those labels, it says item or service affected. But if you hover over category, it does not. And rather than having your tester hover, wait, maybe think their browser is upset, go to your preferences real quick, Ashley, because I found one of the things under
my user preferences?
Yep, user preferences. Under display, there's a switch on the right that says show help tips on forms.
Huh.
Now, reload that form, close that and reload the form.
Okay.
See the question marks?
Yes.
That tells me where I have hints and where I don't. And now you hover over the question mark, not the label.
Okay.
So, as a developer, I would recommend people turn this on and make sure that you've got your fields with hints, because a lot of people rely on those.
I agree. I think it's a lot more helpful than creating like a knowledge-based article about those fields and what they do. It's easy
if you've got a long explanation like defining all your priorities, don't put that in a hint. It's only displayed for like 5 seconds. No one's going to be able to read it. That's when you put a link into, here's the priority rules, here's the priority lookup, here's how they work on incidents versus problems. So you can explain that those game rules. But if it's something as easy as a state, again, that's a task-based thing. You may want to define better later. But enable your users at the source. Yes, the less training you have to do, the better. The less support, even better.
So before I get into the landing pages, real quick, because I really like this, let's say that you are an admin and you're elevating or you're impersonating. You'll kind of see the same behaviors. Now you have this red bar at the top of your screen. You have this red circle around your user letting you know that something's going on, right? Like, so I have this up arrow saying that I'm elevated. If you were impersonating, you still get this bar, but you get an eye icon. So just another visual indicator saying, hey, you're not running in your usual mode or your usual user here.
You mean I can't accidentally post a comment as a user when I'm impersonating? Oh man.
I've done that. I've done that and I've had to say sorry.
I'm
So
pretty
yeah,
sure
I
it's a
did
rite
want
of passage for everyone.
to.
Those are nice visuals. I saw something change, but it wasn't clear in my mind what it was. So thank you for pointing those out.
Yeah, I think for the most part, those are all of them. You know, I'm going through the docs, but there might be some other Easter eggs in there yet we haven't found yet. So the last thing, because I know we want to open this up for Q&A soon, is the landing page area. So right now we are looking at the default landing page that's shipped with Next Experience. This is not editable. You can use it as a template. So just like other pages in UI Builder that we've shipped, you can copy this, use it as a template, create your own landing pages. Go up there and set your preference to route to that landing page. Same as other experiences in UI Builder, right? You can create variants and you can create audiences, so you can have different landing pages for different users, like managers versus agents versus service desk folks. And that's all done in UI Builder, which I think is going to be really powerful. And it's going to enable a lot of customers to create some really cool custom looking things here, which previously dashboards just didn't let us do. So I know we had questions on how do I tell users about this new interface? How do I tell them what's going on? We do have this onboarding area here. So, users can close it when they're ready, but basically it just walks them through how to use the new features here in the unified navigation. Once they're done, they can close that out. The visualization area, this is default. It's showing me admin stuff because I'm an admin out of the box. ITIL has ITIL related things, just different data visualizations really pertaining to my job. If you're creating your own landing pages, that's something that you'll set up, based upon your audiences and your variants. But just just as some basic visuals and templates and ideas, you do have what we've shown here on the default landing page. And then the last area is I call it the resources area. And I believe you can tailor these as well, because these are all the things configured in UI Builder. Just helpful things for users. So like right here, dashboards. Instead of going up to the all menu and finding it or creating a favorite, you can have a quick jump to dashboards if users still need to get there to do things. And then the other one that comes out of the box is just a knowledge page, quick link. So again, preventing people from clicking around, I'll just click here and it takes me to kind of that knowledge base area where I can do my search through here. So I think that's it as far as we did not a high level overview. We didn't really get too deep into the technical portions of it, but we did a walkthrough here of turning Next Experience on, what you get as a new user versus an existing user, some considerations to take into place, what this unified navigation and the different parts of it, and then also kind of one of our main pages here as far as the landing page, what you can expect as an existing user and what you can do with it going forward in UI Builder. So I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions that we might have.
Do we have any other common configuration things or administration that our viewers may enjoy?
I know we have a knowledge article about different system properties we have out there. So I know there's one about the highlighted values that we saw there in the list. There are some different properties regarding how to configure this login page. And some other ones out there too. I haven't really dug too deep into them, but we do have it out there in our.
Can you show where you came up with the Creator Toolbox theme?
Yeah, so let's see. Let me go into themes. And right here is the Polaris theme. Another thing to mention that I didn't mention previously is you may see things named Polaris, like you saw the system properties, and you see this theme. Polaris is just the internal name for Next Experience UI. So if you see Polaris, think Next Experience UI. They're the same things. And then I created a style with all the colors and everything that I named it Creator Toolbox. You can name it whatever you'd like, and associated it as a variant to the player's theme. And we will definitely have documentation on that in our COE. I'm working on that right now, so I'm going to have a nice walkthrough of how to do that and what you can expect when you're creating themes and variants to themes.
I want to see what's in the style. Is it just CSS or?
Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
if you don't have to set these up, all of these, right? So I threw one in here. I found a handy link that will generate this for you. I'll put it in the COE. You really only have to set up what you're wanting to override in the default theme. It's the same rules. If you're used to creating themes in UI Builder for workspaces and portals, it's extending that theming concept. So, there's a default theme there that we had for workspaces. And if you wanted to create your own theme, you could just override things in that base theme. And whatever you're not overriding, it uses. So if you're used to creating themes and working with them in UI Builder and workspaces, the same kind of concepts and fundamentals apply here.
And that theming in UI Builder gets a little easier in this release, right? I think we'll look at that next week.
Yes, we will look at that. There are some cool features that we've added to UI Builder. I really like when you're looking at like CSS in UI Builder, we actually show the color palettes now. So, previously you had to look for your color or put it in. We actually show like the theme that you're working with. So if you are using unified navigation and X Experience, you can see the theme that you've chosen. So if it's this default purple or whatever your brand is, you can actually see that in like different color palettes in UI Builder as well, which makes it a lot easier.
I had a question. You've shown us 3 of your bookmarked system properties. What's the 4th one?
Let me see. What was I looking at? Where's that at?
The banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay. I was like, all the things that Ashley has favorited is gold so far. I wanted to know what the 4th one was.
I bookmarked them for the demo here. That's just to set the link up here.
A quick
Ashley,
question.
I had another question about list performance. Has anybody done any testing in terms of speed in the new UI versus the old UI? Because those that remember List v3 know that it was fraught with some issues and performance issues.
Yeah, so as far as the new UI, it doesn't really give you any performance enhancements. It doesn't enhance it. It doesn't take it away. But I do remember seeing in the product docs that as far as the San Diego release itself, there have been some enhancements for List. And that's kind of separate from the UI experience itself. So you should receive those whether you're using the new UI or not.
Okay. And Jose has asked, are the lists automatically refreshed in the backend interface? Do we have live lists?
I've been doing this for like 6 years. I'm like, well, that's a good question. Same rules as UI 16. I don't believe they are automatically refreshed. I mean,
I don't think so
yeah.
either at this point. That was one of the things in List v3 that we did have that actually caused performance issues because the system is constantly, in communication. The browser is communicating with the backend, and that caused some issues. So we have to be very careful when we do live anything.
Yeah.
So Ashley, for that dashboard on the home page, or I'm blanking on what we're calling it. Is it a dashboard?
The official term
The
landing page. Yeah.
That's it. So you mentioned if you wanted to like make your own, you could copy this one and then mess with it in UI Builder.
Yeah.
Is there a specific experience you have to work in, I'm assuming, to do
Let me
that?
go ahead and pull up UI Builder. I'll give it just a moment. It is called the Unified, I think it's like Unified App Navigation. There we go. And let's see, right here. Unified Navigation App is the experience. So when you upgrade to San Diego, like I said, it's locked down. Wow. I'm in my demo instance, guys. I've been playing around, but it will load just like UI Builder. It will load those landing pages, and you can copy them into your app scope.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
Chuck, you're muted.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Ray was asking if everything adjusts to wide, and Earl answered that, but give your answer verbally just in case.
So regarding the small 3-letter logo at the top left, if you do upload a wider logo up there, it does accommodate the extra width of your logo and pushes things a little bit over to the side to fit your logo in. It doesn't scrunch down the logo or anything like that.
But as soon as you change the logo from now, you're no longer on support. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you've customized your instance.
That's
I mean,
not true.
technically
Let's repeat
that logo right now is out of date already.
I know. That's the funny part.
I do want to mention, if you change it here, it does reflect here too. Like, so if you update your brand logo, it will be here as well on the login page.
Any other questions out there in live chat land? We got good engagement today, good attendance. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
So we have had a couple of questions around, and I don't think we've answered them, but around, are we going to be updating like developer tools? So I'm guessing Studio to work with the new UI, or Flow Designer. I think we actually did update Flow Designer recently, so that it is kind of in line with App Engine Studio. I don't know if it's going to get a big visual refresh anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, this is, like Ashley said, this refresh was really for like process users, right? Like, so this is people that are in, doing their work in ServiceNow. It's not necessarily aimed at end users or admins and developers.
I look at the next experience in the UI rebranding or the UI rework as something like it's just desperately needed, right? So one of the I'm newer to ServiceNow, but I remember when I attended my first knowledge conference, I attended a fireside chat with the CEO. The CEO was saying like we need to be thinking about the future. We need to think about younger developers, younger customers, and stuff like that because the future is our future. Like we can't ignore that there's younger people coming into the interface, and I appreciated that. But then when I go into ServiceNow's like our core UI, it was so old looking, and so this refresh was like it matters to me because I want ServiceNow to look pretty, like, and this looks pretty to me, and I think this looks good, and so having this kind of refresh UI is just so it matters to me because I know we can't keep going forward without actually making our UI actually modern and with using new frameworks and stuff like that. So I appreciate this kind of stuff a lot.
Earl, were you around when we did that live coding happy hour with the instance from 2008?
No, I don't think so. Yikes.
I'm glad you appreciate it because I appreciate every update. And then I go, well, how do we make it better than that? I was still enamored with UI 16 till I saw this. Because of where Brad and I started. It's like, wow, this is way better. We do have another question in the chat. Jose also asks, do list level UI actions which display UI pages embedded in a modal work with the new UI?
Okay, repeat that again. Okay, list UI actions.
Basically, all of your jelly code, do UI macros and UI pages still behave the way they should, whether it's in a modal or on the page or something of that?
They should behave the way they should. So like, with this, it really is just like a CSS overlay to the core UI. Caveat, I don't believe the new theming is applied to them by default, but there are ways to do it that are supported. Like there are jelly tags for it. and we will be putting that in our COE and how to do that. So if you want to apply the new visual styles to your existing UI pages and modals and macros, you can.
Yeah, my experience has been all that underlying jelly code that you've done in UI pages and UI macros still works here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as always, test, test, test.
Yeah, I mentioned this in a comment, but yeah, we tried to make it backwards compatible with everything possible. But that sounds like a thing if you're calling a modal from a list. If you're doing any sort of DOM manipulation, Ashley mentioned this, you may have to rebuild some of that. So like Chuck said, if you have a question about something like, hey, is this going to work in the new UI? You definitely should test it if you're doing anything that's outside of, normal parameters.
That was one of the things I discovered while I was answering those 250 Tech Now questions is some things didn't make it to the San Diego release. So things like guided tour designer, automated test framework, those are going to have some issues if you've got this new UI turned on. So be aware that not everything made it to the finish line in time, and we will get to those in upcoming releases.
Yeah. But if you need to use those, you still have the option to use UI 16. We're not taking that option away in San Diego. Like you mentioned previously, Chuck, we do have the option to do this on a user by user basis. Support for those is still there in San Diego, but like you said, in the new UI, they just didn't make it into this release.
I was just thinking the same thing, where you do a create user in your automated test, and then you do a create preference right after it.
You could do that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Ashley. This has been great. I know we've had a lot of great chat interaction, so thanks to everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I look forward to, I think I'm on again soon. We're going to be talking about some UI builder stuff in San Diego. We got really great new features coming out for that as well.
Yeah, check out that link, devlink.sn/San Diego. That's our schedule of what's coming up. You want to check back periodically because we will have live links in there. Bookmark that page so that you can get right to Live Coding Happy Hour in 2 clicks. Go to the San Diego page, click it, you're watching the video. So thank you everybody who attended. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.